Good evening. How everyone doing today? God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Irma J. Spiritual. I'm here to give you a word on today. And we still I don't think we still doing Bible study. Um and this one gonna come from the title gonna be the three visitors. They're gonna visit Abraham. So now we just talk about God had made a everlasting covenant with and circumcised with Abraham. Remember I just talked about that yesterday. So now I'm talking about the three visitors, will visit Abraham and predict that Sarah will have a son and this time next year. So Sarah heard the three guys telling Abraham she in a tent and she just laughed. She thought it was funny because she in her old age, So because her and Abraham is in their old age, she figured it's not gonna be possible, So she just laughed. And the first time when God had told Abraham a couple of packets ago, that Sarah gonna have a baby, she gonna be a mother of nature. He laughed also, you know. So this story is coming from Genesis chapter 18, verse 1 through 15. Now the law appeared to Abraham. So it started out the law appeared to Abraham. Because at first we thought and I did my research, they thought it was God, the three guys, or the law, but God appeared to Abraham. He was near great trees, and Abraham was sitting at the entrance in his tent, sitting in his tent, just chilling, in the heat of the day. So when Abraham looked up, he saw the three men standing nearby. Now Abraham seeing these three men, Abraham got up to meet them. So now Abraham will have good hospitality with these three men. He gonna show them love and kindness. So Abraham met them and he bowed down low to the ground, showing them respect. So Abraham said, if I have found favor in your eyes, may the Lord do not pass your servant by, you know. So he didn't want them to just pass him by. Because see, they was coming through to go to Sodom, because that could be the next story that God gonna destroy Sodom. So God has sent these angels down to scope out the city to see if it's exactly what he's seeing, the wickedness before he destroyed. But in the meantime, he stopped by Abraham first. So Abraham is showing kindness. He wants to give them water, you know, um, and then you can wash your feet. He wants them to wash their feet. He wants them to freshen up, and rest under this tree. They have special trees in Canada. Remember, he in Canada right now, and they have special trees in Canada. So he also offered them something to eat, so you can be refreshed, and then you could go on your way. And they said very well. See, he just wanted to be nice. He wanted to show kindness, and that's how they do when they and Lot was the same way too. You remember now the angels going to Sodom with Lot to help to get him out of there, and they want to show love and kindness too. They're gonna try to feed them and everything else. So first the law appeared to Abraham, and then he looked up and he see the three men standing. So now these three men and human beings, sent by God. So Abraham didn't waste. He didn't waste no time showing love and kindness to these three men. He gave them water. He told them, you can wash your feet. He offered them something to eat. Now Abraham do not know them, but he cared for them. He don't know the three guys. He just looked up and he saw these three guys. But that's the kind of righteous man Abraham is. He liked to show hospitality to anybody that come to the house, and we gonna see that Lot gonna be the same way, and showing them good love and kindness. So he don't know them, but he care for them, and he invite them to his tent. Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah. Now he giving these people invitation of food and water and bread and all this kind of stuff, but he never told his wife yet. So he had to run up in there and tell his wife Sarah to quit get 3 sleeves, finest flour, and bake some bread. So he putting her to work. So then he ran to the herd, which herbs is wishes the animals, and he selected a church, tender calf, and give it to the servant, who hurried to prepare it. So they brought some curds and milk and sat all at the table, and they ate. So they're gonna eat good. They're gonna be clean. The foot gonna be clean. They giving them water. They're gonna eat. So now we see that they went and got animals, and they want to prepare to eat. So they will be eating good. They were gonna eat. They're gonna be eating good. And then that's why when they went to Lot, that's why they didn't want no food, because they done left from Abraham, being full. So now they have bread, steak, and took the animals and cut that up. I saw the video. So they eating bread and they were eating steak. They had milk, and we see that they will walk away being full. That's why at time they go to Lot. Lot gonna offer them food, they're gonna turn them down the first time. So um these three men asked, "What is your wife?" So now they're about to predict her own future. So these 3 men asked, "What is your wife?" They're talking to Abraham, but Sarah was still in the tent. So they say they will surely return to you about this time next year. And Sarah, your wife, will have a son. They're not. They're telling her. He was talking to Abraham. He told Abraham, "We're gonna return back to you next year around this time, and your wife Sarah will have a baby. She will have a son." You know. So so now these 3 men predicting that Sarah, will have a son at this time next year. So now remember, last practice, God already had told Abraham that Sarah will have a son. Abraham didn't believe because he was old, and now these 3 men saying the same thing. Abraham laughed when God told him that he didn't believe. So now these 3 men telling him the same thing that God already had told him. So now Sarah is listening. Sarah's in the tent listening. Remember, she was breaking the bread, but being nosed at the same time. So Sarah is in her old age. She passed the age of childbearing, and she laughed to herself as she thought that she is worn out. Now she talking to herself. She hearing them saying Sarah gonna have a baby by next year. She like, I'm worn out. I'm past, childbearing. Who, me? Me gonna have a baby? I'm old. And she just laughed to herself, because she thought she was worn out, even trying to carry a baby. So Sarah listening, and she thinking all these things of herself, and she laughed. Remember, last package, God told Abraham that Sarah would have a child. Abraham also laughed. So they both don't believe because they old. So then the Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh and say, will I really have a child in old age?" They're still questioning, because the 3 men asked, why she laughed. They want to know why she laughed. They say, "Is anything?" So the 3 men say, "Is anything too hard for God? Anything too hard for the Lord to do?" So I will return to you at the appointed time next year, and Sarah will have a son. So no matter she laugh or not, these 3 men say, and the reason why God still followed through, because her son would be a promised child to his plan. His plan to God plan. So that's why he still went through it, because both of them laughed. They're disrespectful. Both of them laughed. So after Sarah hearing all this, she began to be afraid. So she hearing the same thing. Remember, Abraham went home and told her that God said, "You're gonna be the mother of the nation. You're gonna have a baby." And he laughed. So now, she afraid because she hearing the same thing that God had told Abraham. So then she hearing all this, she began to be afraid, and then she lied and said, "I did not laugh." Because you know, remember they kept on saying, "Why is she laughing?" You know, so she lied and said, "I'm not laughing." You know, because she had got afraid. But he said, "Yes, you did laugh." You know, they heard it say, "Yes, you did laugh." So about next year, Sarah and Abraham laughed would turn into joy. You know, because see, God about to make it. They want to laugh. Okay, keep on laughing. By next year, your laugh gonna turn into laughter of joy. You know, keep on laughing. You know, because God can make it happen. Just like the three guys said. You know, if anything too hard for our God to do, you know, it don't care how old you is. Who you think create the babies that's inside the mother womb? You know, God do. So it doesn't matter how old you is. You know, if God want to place something in you for a plan, a purpose, you know, that He wrote and created, you know, He gonna make it happen. You know, her child gonna be a promised child. You know, her child is the one gonna bring, just like they say in the early package, you're gonna have kings come out of this child here. Cause you know Joseph was a king of Egypt. You know, so why is Sarah laughing at the idea of bearing a child while Abraham, who also found the idea worth laughing, also? So they did not seem to receive the same kind of response from God. You know, they both did not have faith, you know, and they both did not have for respectful for God. Focus on focusing instead on the impossibility of the promise of being fulfilled. And see, that's what I'm saying. That's why God still went through, even though they laughed, you know. But God will focus on His promise of being fulfilled. You know, His promise to be fulfilled is Sarah's child that she's gonna have, Isaac. You know Jacob, Joseph, all that gonna Jacob, they're gonna come from Isaac. You know, Joseph gonna come from Jacob. You know, so the promise being fulfilled would come from Sarah's child, Isaac. You know, so that's why, you know, God was focusing on the impossibility of his promise at being fulfilled. And it wasn't. You know, so a lot of time you're not gonna understand what God is doing. You know, what God be doing in our life, in our plan. You know, it don't make sense to us. You might want to laugh like they did, but at the end of the day, it will make sense, and God's plan will be fulfilled. You know, so they laugh. You know, instead of trying to focus on what God is trying to do. You know, so Sarah child, you know, will be the fulfillment of God's plan. Isaac. You know, Isaac gonna have a child of Jacob. Jacob gonna have a child of Joseph, which gonna bring him to the finish line. You know, and Jacob children. Also, well, Joseph is the one guy that started. Jacob, all his children will fulfill God's plan, his purpose. You know, because they're gonna multiply as a nation, like God had said way back. I caught 2 or 3 packets. I put out. You know, uh, ice is a very important part of his plan because he gonna have Jacob. You know, Jacob's children is the one gonna be the Israelite. You know, and Joseph is the one that God had put in the dreams to get the plan started. You know, so Sarah and Abraham, it was very important to God possibility and fulfillment of his plan. You know, and they're laughing. You know, but God looking at they're gonna fulfill His promise. You know, so so Isaac's child gonna be Jacob, and his offspring will fulfill God's plan. So Sarah and Abraham focused on their old age. See, they focused on their old age. You know, she wanted a child so bad. So when God said you're gonna have a child, be happy. You know, they're focusing on their old age instead on focus on what God is trying to do in their life. You know, so Sarah being sarcastic, you know, but then lied that she didn't lie. You know, instead of her confessing that, oh, I'm sorry, you know, I laughed, but I'm sorry, it was a mistake. Instead of her confessing, she lied and said she did not laugh. You know, but now Abraham now seemed to accept, you know, that his son will be called Isaac. Now he accepting that the child will be called Isaac. So I mean, he accepting that Sarah will have a child, you know, um, as a reminder that he did indeed laugh at God also. And he would laugh with Sarah. He also would laugh with Sarah, being full of joy when God fulfilled his promise. You know. So one, the law appears to Abraham. And did Abraham look up, and there was three men and a human being just standing up there in white robes, like angels, and so Abraham was not scared. He hurried up to meet these three men, and to show them love and kindness, good hospitality, and helping them, he bowed down low to the ground, showing them respect. Abraham, he showed love and kindness to them. He fed them, he fed them bread and steak, so they ate very well. These three men predicted that Sarah would have a child next year at this time. She laughed due to her old age. Remember, when God told Abraham she would have a child, he laughed also. So they both had unbelief, you know. So this all part of God's plan. Sarah and Abraham were very important for this child to proceed in life. So her child would be a promised child. That's why the early practice I had put out, she thought she wasn't good enough to have a promised child. Remember, God took 24 years. After He spoke to Abraham the first time about she gonna have a child, and she took matters in her own hand because it took so long. She thought wasn't good enough to have a promised child. She know, just gonna be a promised child, of God plan. So there will, so her child will be a promised child that will fulfill God plan. So 6, nothing too hard for God to do. There was focus on the age, to the focus on what God was trying to do. So Sarah is 90 years old. Abraham was 99 years old. But God will place a child in Sarah, and she will have that child, and she will be full of joy. She'll forget about how old she is, because she's going to be so busy loving and caring for this special child, that she about to have. So 8, both laugh, will turn into laughter of joy. So God said, let them keep on laughing. Because by this time next year, their laughter going to turn into joy. So God's plan will be fulfilled by her son Isaac. And Isaac going to have a child of Jacob. Jacob's children, which is going to be the Israelite. So don't laugh. They was focused on their age. But God was focused on his plan. So that's why God said it too. Why are you laughing? The three men said, why Sarah laughing? Because God focused. See, when God have a plan, God focusing on his plan. I'm talking to myself too. We be focused on other stuff that's going on. They'll focus on the edge. We be focused on other stuff that's going on. God will focus on one thing. He's trying to get his own plans to be fulfilled. So we never know what God up to. But follow and just do what he said. We will never understand, but at the end, it will all make sense. Because we see at the end, it's God plan will fulfill. Just like what he wrote now. He wrote ultimately like after Noah and them. That's what he wrote. Yeah, after Noah, after the flood, he wrote the plan out. He called Abraham. He called Abraham. He told Abraham about the plan. You know, I need you to come to Canaanites. Because that's the land I'm gonna give you and your offspring. Y'all gonna be in this land. Then you're gonna go to Egypt. And remember, he left the land and went to Egypt. God was just trying to map out everything that's gonna be planned and formulated his plan. Remember he called him to come to Canaan. Then he told him to go to Egypt. He went to Egypt. Got in trouble. About to get stayed there. So God had to interfere. And that's what Pharaoh had told Sarah to go ahead and leave. Told Abraham, y'all go ahead and leave, get out of here. God had to step in because they're about to get trapped in Egypt. Just his story about to start beginning now, but so God know his plan wasn't supposed to begin now, until the later on. That's why God intervened. Y'all come on out of there and go back to Canada. So that's how he was rehearsing. That's how his plan was going to end up. Because Jacob was living in Canada. You know, and that's what he had Joe. He put in Joseph's dream to go to Egypt to get this started. And that's when Jacob had to leave Canaan to go to Egypt, and then wind up got stuck there and being a slave. Abraham and Jacob died, but his all his offspring, all his children multiplied as a great nation. They got stuck there as a slave. That was part of God's plan. That's why he had to pull Abraham out because the plan wasn't supposed to start right then and there. Because they were gonna get trapped there. But God had to intervene and put all kind of sickness on Pharaoh and all that to get them out of there. So that was all a rehearsal of God's plan. And we saw it all play out. Everything always played out as God written is, to be. You know, um, Abraham went to Canaan, went to Egypt. He was about to get stuck there until God had to intervene. So that's how his plan, God plan was mapped out, and that's how he planned out to be. And the Israelites fulfilled God's plan. It was fulfilled. It took they went to Egypt, got stuck. God helped them. God got them out with his mighty hand. And it took 40 years, but they made it and possessed their land in Canaan. And God's plan was fulfilled. So by this time next year, Sarah will have a child that these three men predicted, that she laughed. And Abraham also laughed. And by he done spoke to these three men, said the same thing that God said, then Abraham saw accepting that he will have a child and name him Isaac. So that's all the word I have for you today. And we will never understand God's plan, but we will never say, but then at the end it all makes sense. All makes sense. At the beginning it don't. Abraham didn't understand the plan. God told it to him. He really fully understand what's going on. It was a rehearsal that God did for him. I called you in the Canada. As soon as he came to Canada, the next thing he had to go to Egypt. That was part of a rehearsal of God's plan. So y'all have a blessed day, and I'll see y'all on the next video.